Alrighty, what's going on, everybody? It's Garland here, and today I am going to bring you the Mod 10 Hellbringer Fury build. It is in demand right now. So let's do a little disclaimer. Remember, this isn't the all god build. I do have a Mod 10 Damnation build out as well. If it all comes down to what your playstyle is, guys, the Damnation is more tankier. The Fury does actually have more tankiness this mod than previous mods. However, you still will die a little more than the Damnation. On the Fury, you're gonna die. I did an epic demo just before making this video, and I ended up dying like 5 or 6 times just because you do have to be very close. And a lot of that's on my part. I didn't dodge. But regardless, the build does have tankiness, but not as much tankiness as the Damnation. So it comes back to what kind of playstyle you want to personally play. I am kind of leaning more toward Damnation overall, but I do like the Fury, this build as well. So let's jump into it. As normal, your races are going to be the normal, the Tiefling, Tefling, Dragonborn, and Human. All three are going to be viable sources for your race. And also, as per normal, if we look at our statistics, you are going to want to stack your Constitution and your Charisma as high as you can get it. Initial rolls of 16 each, 17 each, 18 each, whatever the highest roll you can get. And then simply just stack the rest of your attributes into the Constitution and Charisma. Let's move on to your gear. Gear is going to be controversial on people's opinions of what's going to be best in slot. I personally am going to be using the Dragonflight most likely over the Relic gear. The Relic gear does have increased statistics, but not too much increased statistics, and also you are going to have an upkeep on the new Relic gear. I actually do have the boots right now if we look at them. So at tier 2 they are item level 145 compared to the Elemental Dragonflight, which is 142. When you do upgrade the Relic gear to tier 3, it actually goes to 150 item level. And like I said, the statistics do increase. However, you're going to have to keep an upkeep on your Relic gear. Unless they do change how the Relic gear is going to work, I'm simply not going to partake in that. I mean, they tried it once with the Black Ice. It didn't work. All they have to do is increase the combat time. I believe the tier 3 has a 2-hour combat time. That needs to be like 8 hours at least. The Vonin blood is easy to obtain. However, the amounts of it that you need are just excruciating. I want to play the game, but I'm not going to play the game if I have to sit there and farm one resource non-stop over and over again just so I can keep my gear going. The Twisted Weapon set is still going to be best in slot for right now. We are getting a new artifact set in 10.5. I'm not sure if it's going to be better than the Twisted set. The Twisted set is pretty solid. The new set does have a bonus on it that every time you Shadow Slip, you're going to gain 10% power. But at the same time, if you cast a daily, you're going to activate the defensive part of it, which I don't remember offhand. I think it's defensive and lifesteal and some other stuff, but you obviously want the power. So every time you enter a battle, you have to Shadow Slip, basically, if you want to activate that power on the new artifact set. So we're going to test it further down the line. Like I said, best in slot is going to be up in the air as far as, if you're going to continue to use the weapon set, or if you're going to use the new artifact weapon set, or if you're using the Stronghold set. It's all personal preference, basically. Your 3-piece set, I'm currently still wearing the Lost Mouth set. Your best in slot, you're going to want to get the Orcus set. The Orcus is going to be best in slot, which is going to be your necklace, your waist, and your one artifact. Your other 3 artifacts, you're going to be rocking either the Will of the Elements, the Sigil of the Devoted, along with your Than, Book of the Dead, and your Tiamat Orb. You can always swap in a lantern, something with power, crit, or armor pen if you don't have access to the Tiamat orb yet, or your Book of the Dead. Shirt and pants are going to be the gemmed. Eventually you're going to want to get the Everfrost resist reinforcement kit and put them on these. There is a new set of shirt and pants in mod 10. However, it's actually less item score than what we currently have. The new stuff's actually 140 and the stats on it aren't that great. So we're going to continue to wear the gem stuff and put the Everfrost resist reinforcement kits on these sets. I'm going to talk about the rings. I'm currently using the Rising Precision along with the Rising Power. I'll talk about that further in the video as we move along, but for right now, yes, we are going to use the Rising on our persons. As far as reinforcement kits, I'm currently going to run Critical Strike on the head, armor, arms, and feet. However, if you're already max on your crit, you can put recovery or power on here. That's going to be, again, your personal preference, where your statistics are and where you need to be. The same thing over here is I'm going to run action point game on the necklace, the 2 rings, and the belt. You can run something different if you so choose, but I prefer the action point game. Now, as far as overall enchantments, the armor enchantment, I still strongly suggest the Transcendent Negation as far as your armor enchant, which is basically 30% damage resistance, 10% recovery, and incoming healing bonus, which helps with your lifesteal. Some members of the community have kind of moved on to the Transcendent Elven Battle, which gives you 80% to immunities, so slow effects and all that stuff. I'm not a big fan of that. I prefer the damage resistance overall, especially because with the Fury, you're going to have to be up close and personal. I don't get stunned that often anyway. I can shadow slip away and recast Pillar of Power when needed. As far as your weapon enchantment goes, I'm currently still running the Vorpal. However, as far as a Fury build goes, you might want to change to a Dread and get the 75% on your encounter powers. As a Fury, you're going to be using a lot of your DPS coming from encounter powers. At the same time, your at-wills will do a lot as well. That's one of the main reasons I am not going to change to the Dread. I'm just not going to spend that much money to switch to a Dread when the Vorpal does me personally just fine. If you do have a Dread, that is fine. Either will work. The Fury does push out a lot of DPS either way. So yes, I'm going to continue to rock the Vorpal. If you do have a Dread, that's perfectly fine. If you're in between which one you do want to use, I would still suggest going with the Vorpal, as you do damage with your at-wills. Your Hellish Rebuke does a lot of damage. If you use a Dread, you're going to miss out on that damage. Overall, enchantments, we're going to go with the Dark Enchantments in all your defensive slots, and that's going to be for your lifesteal. You want as much lifesteal as you can. Like I said, you don't have the tankiness that you do have with the Damnation build. So Fury, you want a good amount of lifesteal just so you can stay alive. And then for our offensive, we are going to stack Radiance, which is power, and that's going to be personal preference. If you need crit, then you're going to put some Azors in. If you have max crit and max armor pen, then go ahead and stack power as much as you can. Moving right along, we're going to look at our artifact powers real quick. Hellish Rebuke on your weapon. It's going to increase your rebuke by 12% overall. And then on your offhand, we are going to continue to use All-Consuming Curse, which is going to be crit severity by 5%, and also action point gain here. You can pick something else if you need. The Combat Advantage or even the Companion Influence are 2 good ones. I just continue to stack action point gain. I know it has a soft cap. Let's look at it real quick. Like, my action point gain is almost 2200, 2120. The soft cap's actually 1200, and then it has diminishing returns. But 2100, my action point gain is just insane. Even with the diminishing returns, it's still pretty high end. Alright, that's going to wrap it up. let's move on to the feats and the build itself. Typical in the beginning, we're going to toss 1 point into Energizing Curse. You can put more points into here if you so choose, if you need more action point gain, which I don't. 3 out of 3 for Weapon Mastery for the 3% crit chance. And then also 3 out of 3 in your Toughness, which is going to lead you to the 9% increased HP. Moving on, we got the Empowered Rituals. It's 6% more damage overall on your encounter powers. And then we have 5 out of 5 in Determined Casting, which is 10% reduction times, which is amazing. Then we have the 3 out of 3 in the Devastating Critical, which is 15% more crit severity. You have to have it. And then I do finish with 2 points into the Blood Pack. Now, if you do run a human, you can put your 3 extra feats into Blood Pack, which I would suggest. However, if you still need Lifesteal, you can come down here and grab another 3% Lifesteal here. Or also, I want you to look into Scornful Curse. The Lesser Curse damage has been increased 50%. Well, this will increase it another 30% on top of that with Lesser Curse. And since you'll be using All-Consuming Curse, you will have Lesser Curse on a lot of creatures. And it's all DPS. It all goes toward your damage. Let's move on to the Fury Path. We are going to take 5 out of 5 for Critical Promise. It's only 50% of your weapon damage. It's not a whole lot of DPS, but it does add up in the long run. We take that over Daughter's Promise. You can choose either one of these, to be perfectly honest. These are insignificant as far as the build overall. We're going to take 5 out of 5 out of Gatekeeper's Empowerment. Gates of Hell, which is a daily power, does 25% more damage and generates 50% more action points for each target killed. This is good for clearing trash mobs, to be honest. It's not that great for boss fights, but Gates of Hell, when you're clearing a significant amount of trash mobs, you will destroy everything with Gates of Hell. Moving on, Hell Touched. When foes deal damage to you, they become Hell Touched for 10 seconds. The foes who are Hell Touched take 10% more damage from you. With the Fury Path, the way it's set up right now, you have to be in the fight, guys. There's no more, sitting back, relaxing, and casting some spells. You got to be on top of the mobs. When you drop your Pillar of Power, it's best that you drop it on mobs. So it's nice to have Hell Touch, so the mobs will take 10% more damage from you. Now, we also took 5 out of 5 for Infernal Wrath. Your Lesser Curse also basically puts a 5% debuff for the damage resistance of your targets. Now, with All-Consuming Curse, you're going to have Lesser Curse popping out the wazoo, so this actually does help in the long run. Next, we take Executioner's Gift, 5 out of 5. It's no-brainer here. Your at-wills and encounter powers will do 15% bonus damage as the target's health diminishes. So basically, as the mob is dying, you will do increased DPS. Killing Curse is kind of useless. We're not going to worry about that. We don't really care anything about weapon damage because the weapon damage in this game is so low. It's so insignificant. You don't want to worry about this. Finally, you're going to take Brutal Curse. Your Warlock's Curse increases your damage against affected targets by an additional 10%. So just make sure you're cursing everything, guys. You want to have your Warlock's Curse on everything. You will do 10% with this feat. Now, we are skipping over Murderous Flames. I don't know if it's a tooltip error or if this is correctly how it's supposed to read, but as it says, Killing Flames deals 30% of its damage. So it's not 30% on top of what it should be doing. It's only 30% of what it should do. So I don't know if the tooltip's wrong or if this is working correctly, but if it is working correctly, that is complete and utter garbage. Killing Flame still does remotely decent damage. It's not outrageous. It's not like the glitch that we had in the previous mod, okay? It still does decent damage, but taking Murderous Flames and only taking 30% of its damage for a primary target. Now, if it hits more than one target, the damage is split, which is even worse. So you should be only using Killing Flames on a boss fight to begin with. So with Murderous Flames, if you do take this feat, it's only doing 30% of its damage, as far as the tooltip says. Like I said, I don't know if this is working as intended. If it is, it's a disgrace. So yeah, don't take it. Just skip over it. And then finally, of course, we are taking our Creeping Death. When you deal basically any damage with anything, daily powers, at-wills, encounters, They have to have your curse on it, so make sure you're, like I said, casting your Warlock's curse. They're afflicted with Creeping Death. Creeping Death deals 60% additional damage, okay, for 8 seconds, and it stacks, okay? You get a lot of damage from Creeping Death, as long as you're correctly using it. Remember, guys, you got to curse everything. Remember, your Warlock's curse is important. Spam it. So Creeping Death, 60% additional damage as a DOT, and it stacks. And the way that they have changed it is that before it used to only be necrotic damage that would proc Creeping Death. Now literally everything procs it. Fire damage, at wills, everything. Everything will proc Creeping Death, so it's a pretty big deal. And finally, we are going to take 10 points into the Damnation. We are going to take 5 out of 5 for Relentless Curse. Your Warlock's Curse is removed of a target. It has a 100% chance to take Lesser Curse. That's very important for this build specifically, as you are going to be working on your Lesser Curse. So every time your Warlock's Curse is taken away, bam, it automatically gets a Lesser Curse, aka more damage. We are going to take that over Parting Blasphemy. Parting Blasphemy did encounter some changes. Parting Blasphemy used to do damage to you, so if you were using like a Young Yeti, for instance, that's why your Young Yeti was proccing so much, is because Parting Blasphemy was actually doing damage to you. That has been fixed, so you might not want to use your Yeti. You might still want to use your Yeti. That's going to be your personal preference. Again, as Fury, you are going to be in the fray. You are going to be taking some blows. However, for the build itself, yeah, we're going to take 5 out of 5 for a Relentless Curse. And then finally, we are going to take 5 out of 5 for Power of the Nine Hells. Basically, the damage and damage resistance buffs provided by Pillar of Power, they last for 5 seconds while you're not in the area. So you can cast Pillar of Power, run out of it for 5 seconds if you have to, especially if you have to dodge something. And now also the allies receive 50% of the buff's effects too. Pillar of Power is basically the bread and butter for this build, which we will get into as a Fury. Now, you can play this another way. Well, there are multiple ways you can play the Hellbringer Fury. So you can actually take the 5 points out of Infernal Wrath if you don't want. Take these 15 points out of here, and you can go the Dark Revelry path as far as Fury goes. So you'll take all the way over to Dark Revelry, which is a group buff. 20% damage increase to your allies, but it does not affect you. I went the more greedy route. Mod 10 is more along the lines of strategic and party buffs and everything. However, I wanted the most DPS that I possibly could. If you want to be a team player, then yes, go the Dark Revelry route. If you want to go strictly DPS for personal DPS, then yes, go this route. For now, at least, this is the best DPS route. That's going to be wrapping up the feats. Let's move on to the powers. First and foremost, let's go down to the at-wills. We are going to be using Hand to Blight and also Hellish Rebuke. Hellish Rebuke is an absolute monster right now. It deals so much damage, and it is a DOT. If you read the tooltip here, it says a rebuke that deals damage and ignites your target with hellfire. If they foolishly strike you after the rebuke, they will be met with another blast of hellfire. They can only be affected by this additional blast once every second. So a Hellish Rebuke is basically going to hit people twice if they hit you. The damage on it is amazing, and like I said, it is a DOT. You will be spamming this non-stop. Hand to Blight is going to be your backup. It does have a debuff as well. And in melee range, you will just mow down trash mobs with it. So use these two as your at-wills. Let's move on to the encounter powers. Now, the bread and butter of this whole entire build is going to be your Pillar of Power. You're going to be casting this non-stop. Some of the changes, the Pillar of Power will now basically cast right underneath your feet. You don't have to target it. Before you used to actually have to place it on the ground. You got to choose the target location. That doesn't happen anymore. It's automatically cast right beneath you. If you read it, it says, while you stand in the conduit, your damage and damage resistance are increased. If an enemy enters the conduit, their damage and damage resistance are reduced for a short duration, and they take damage as long as they stand within the conduit. Basically, boss battle, you're going to run in there, you're going to cast this sucker right on top of the boss, and you're going to continue to cast it on top of the boss. You're going to stand there with it, and you know it's just going to benefit everyone. So you can, you know, max this out, use it. I will go in more depth along all of the powers and everything in the rotation video. There will be a link in the description to the rotation video. There's also a couple glitches with Pillar of Power right now with the Owlbear Companion that I'm not going to include because I'm totally against that. I'll go over that more in depth in the actual spell rotation video. Now for clearing trash mobs, we're going to grab Fury Bolt. Fury Bolt does insane amount of damage. You want to make sure that you cast your Warlock's Curse beforehand, and then you will cast Fury Bolt. Excuse me. So basically you will cast your Warlock's Curse and then your Fury Bolt, and the surrounding targets will actually take full damage from the blast as long as you have the initial target marked with your Warlock's Curse. Does insane damage. You can't pass it up for clearing trash mobs. Also, you're going to move down here to Arms of Hadar. Arms of Hadar is now just a complete and utter monster. Basically, you can spam this. It has a 2-second cooldown. The effects stack though, so each time you cast this power, its cooldown period increases by 2 seconds. All the stacks of it fade after 15 seconds. It's not a big deal. You will get the hang of it. You will see it in the rotation video. Also, if you're not clearing trash mobs, you will most likely be using Killing Flames in place of Fury Bolt, etc. You can also use Dread Theft as well. Dread Theft now has a buff-debuff mechanic to it. Like I said, we'll go over all that more in depth in the rotation video. As far as your personal powers, we are going to be using Flames of the Empowerment, which is insane. It's like I don't even know, like 20% increase or something. I think it's 18% increase in DPS. When you attack a target with your at-will powers, they are affected by Flames of Empowerment for 6 seconds. Flames of Empowerment increases damage you deal to that target by 2% and stacks 3 times. Yeah, so you can get this up to, I believe it's like 18% overall. Maybe it's a little less than that, I don't know, but it's a monster. You need to use it. So slap that baby on there as one of your personals. And then as I mentioned before, we are still using All-Consuming Curse, not only for the Lesser Curse effects, but as well as our offhand getting the crit severity. Now as far as your daily power goes, yes, we still are using Tyrannical Curse. Unfortunately, Tyrannical Curse has gone down the tubes. It's still viable. It still will assist in your overall DPS. However, it's just the mechanics of it are so bad now. Like I said, we'll go over that in the spell rotation video. And also your Gates of Hell. Like I said, this guy is a monster. You will literally just slaughter trash mobs with this. Like you will cast this and they will instantly die, and you will almost have full AP back from it. Some other options that I've been exploring is Broods of Hadar. Broods of Hadar does just ridiculous amount of damage. So you might want to look into that as one of your options. I believe that's going to wrap it up for the powers. Like I said, there will be a link in the description for more in-depth coverage for the powers. Let's move on to our boons here very quickly. Sharndar goes straight across the board here. We're going to take 400 power, 400 crit, 3% action point gain, can't pass it up. When striking a foe, you have a chance to do up to 20k arcane damage. That just adds to your overall DPS. And then finally, Elvish Fury, 135 power for 45 seconds, and it stacks to 30 times. It's just outrageous. You got to take it. Dread Ring, we're going to take 250 power and movement, 400 life steal, 3% resistance ignored, which stacks on your armor penetration. Enraged Regrowth. Now, I believe I took Shadow Touch as Damnation for the extra 20k necrotic damage. For Fury, I'm actually going to take Enraged Regrowth, as it's going to add to my healing. Every time you get hit, you have a chance to heal up to 20k over a few seconds, and then also get a 4k defense boost for 10 seconds as well. And then finally, Rampaging Madness. Every character in the game should have Rampaging Magics. It's 4k power, 4k lifesteal, and 4k regen. Icewind Dell. We got the 400 combat advantage, 400 incoming healing bonus, 2% crit severity. Absolutely. Doesn't even matter that this is 400 recovery. 2% crit severity over everything. Cool resolve is you gain up to 2,000 power based on how much stamina or guard you're missing. In mod 10, you're going to be dodging a whole lot more than previous mods. You're going to be dodging left and right, so your shadow slip is important. You're just going to gain 2k power on top of everything else. And then finally, Winter's Bounty, 10% action point gain. You have a chance to gain that when killing a mob. So anytime you kill a mob, you have a chance to gain 10% AP instantly. Can't pass it up. Underdark, we got the 400 power, 1600 HP. We got the 400 crit strike and 1600 HP. Combat advantage damage bonus is increased by 10%. You now regain stamina 5% faster. You're going to take this over the control effects. I mean, it's up to you. You can take either one of these. It depends on you. If you want 5% shorter durations, it's up to you. I don't really get stunned that often or slowed that often. And then finally, we're going to take 10% damage versus demons, whereas demons do 5% less damage to you. I rather have the more DPS than the less damage being brought to me. Tyranny of Dragons. We got the 400 power, 400 crit, and 400 armor pen, followed by the 400 lifesteal rating, and then completing it with the crit severity. Yes, I know, I still haven't completed my crit severity boon. I'm about halfway to the end of actually getting the 8%, but I do have the 6.5, so we'll finish it up eventually. If you are in a guild, your stronghold, you're going to want to take, power, your lifesteal. Now you can take the hit point bonus here, which is a 32k increase in HP if you have the completed boon. We're going lifesteal because I prefer the lifesteal. And then your utility, we always go mount speed unless you need XP farming or something. You can take the XP bonus. Maze Engine, we got the 5% lifesteal severity, 400 combat advantage bonus, action point gain 3% faster. Absolutely. Baphomet's Might, when striking a foe, you have a chance to gain 2k crit strike. Why not? Why not add to the crit, Elemental Evil, we got the 300 power and 2k hit points, 4% lifesteal severity and 2k hit points, 400 crit strike and 2k hit points, and then we got the Gale of Retribution. When taking damage, you have a chance to heal up to 24k hit points over a few seconds, and then also adding 1,000 to your critical strike. Let's take a look at the new mod 10 stuff. For some reason, the boons don't come up yet. I don't know if it's just because I haven't unlocked anything, but 2% control resist plus 1k HP, or you get 2% life steal severity, where you're going to take the 2% life steal severity. We got the 400 incoming heal bonus, which will help with life steal, and also the 2% Everfrost damage resistance, or the 400 stamina gain. We're obviously going to be taking the incoming healing bonus. We have the Icy Wrath, a chance when taking damage to gain up to 2k bonus damage on next attack. Or you have the Chill Determination. You gain up to 2,000 recovery based on how much stamina you take. We're going to be actually taking the 2k recovery over this because this is only 2k bonus damage. That's garbage. That's absolutely nothing. So the 2k recovery is actually going to be more beneficial. Vengeful Heat and Glacial Strength. Your max HP is increased 3,200 and then another 2% Everfrost damage resistance. Or you have, when you kill a foe, you have a chance to deal up to 2k fire damage to all nearby allies. Blah, blah, blah. Like I said, 2k fire damage, that's a joke, right? That's bad. We're obviously going to be taking the 3,200 HP. Now, all four of these are atrocious. These are absolutely bad. This is probably the worst campaign they've ever came out with as far as boons go. Chill of the Winter. When striking a foe, you have a chance to gain a stack of Icy Chill, 50 stacks. You clear all stacks, and bam, 10k burst damage. 10k, that's it. And you have to get 50 stacks first. Yeah, that's kind of subpar. We got the Healing Warmth. Your healing spells have a chance to damage up to 5 enemies near the target for up to 4k damage. Yet again, 4k damage, yeah, it's not a lot, guys. It's, I mean, yeah, maybe it adds up, but 4k damage is not very good. We got Titan's Affinity, which every time you use a healing potion, it now heals you for 10% more. I personally haven't used healing potions in like 3 or 4 mods, so yeah, useless. And then finally we got Frozen Reflection. When you deflect an attack, you deal up to 5k damage to your attacker. I've never been really big on deflection. However, you know, there are classes out there that use deflection, which I'm assuming are going to take this. But as far as Warlocks go, yeah, these are all bad. I don't know which one I'm going to take, to be honest. I might take Chill Winter just for the 10k damage, I guess, but it really doesn't really matter. You know, pick whatever one you want. That's going to wrap it up for the boons. Let's move on to your companions. No major differences here. You're going to be using the Fire Archon for the anytime the mob is 50% less or 50% or less hit points. You're going to do 7% more damage to him. Siege Master 4% overall increased damage, 8% on the Stronghold map. The Air Archon is every time you do at least 1 damage to a mob, you're going to do 5% overall more DPS. The Aranyes of Belial is 10% crit severity. Gotta have it. Gotta love the crit severity. Makes you crit harder, better, faster, stronger. And here's the number 1 change. Is going to be the Con Artist. Now, this is my own personal opinion, but the Con Artist is probably the best companion in the game for DPS. Right off the bat, you can see that it does have 1 defensive slot, but don't dismiss it just yet, guys. Hear me out. So of course you want 3 rank 12 bondings. It does have 1 defensive. It also has 3 rings. Now this is where I mentioned before about the rising rings. I personally have tested and I prefer to use the sudden rings on my companion for the burst DPS. It's just outrageous what my stats can get up to. Just like self-buffed by myself, I get up to about 33k or 33k, wow. How about 73k? 73k to about 74k, sometimes breaking 75k if everything procs at the same time. Power. So 75k power, self-buffed, is outrageous. That's not including any cleric buffs, guardian fighter buffs, control wizard buffs, hunter ranger buffs. That's purely self-buffed 75k power. Now that's with the sudden rings. Some people want to debate and say the rising rings on your companion are a better option. Some people want to say that the Loyal Avenger gear or the Adorable Bites gear is better. Like I said, it's all personal choice. I have tested. I just prefer, like I said, I like the sudden rings. I like that boost. And of course, you're going to stack power or crit based on what you need in the slots. Believe it or not, I don't have a +4 brutality. I've played this game forever. I've done so many epic Demogorgons, it's unbelievable, and I've yet to pull a +4 brutality. Eventually, I would like to get all +5s. You know, so we are running the Sun Precision for crit, sudden lifesteal for lifesteal, and then the brutality for power. Now, what makes this companion the best? If you look at his powers, bam, right here. The final strike of Wicked Strike now shreds 10% of the target's defense. If you have 3 DPS classes in your group and all 3 of you are running the Con Artist, that all stacks. That'll be a 30% damage reduction to whatever it is you're fighting, whether it be trash mobs or the boss. It's a 30% damage reduction plus all the other debuffs in the game. Like, it just gets outrageous. Now, there is a poor man's way. If you can't afford certain items, you can use the Air Archon. Now, you are going to get the 3 offensive slots, 2 rings, and a necklace. But this is a very viable legendary companion if you don't want to pour a lot of AD into it. Now, if you want to go the rich man's way, you can go for the Fire Archon, which a lot of people say is best in slot, which I tend to agree with. Like I said, I think that the Con Artist is downright the best legendary companion for a DPS class that you can get. Now, the Fire Archon, the only thing it has going on for it is that it is a ranged companion. He won't die as much. So you do have your 3 offensive slots, 2 ring slots, and a talisman. Now, why is this so expensive? Well, because the talisman is going to cost you like 10 million AD alone. So if you want to dump that much money into a companion, then by all means go for it. But yes, the Adorable Bites on Xbox is going for 10 million plus. The Adorable Rings are anywhere from 3 to 4 million each. And that's another reason why I use the Sudden Rings, is just cost efficiency. These give me more stats, and they're better for your overall performance than the Adorable gear or the Loyal Avenging gear, Of course, that's my personal opinion. You guys can do whatever you want. That's going to wrap it up for the companions. Let's move on to the mounts. As you can see, your equip power can be whatever you want. If you're lacking the critical strike, by all means use critical strike. If you want to stack the power, by all means stack the power. If you want to stack recovery, stack recovery. Your mounts should be looked at as a bonus stat. So as far as your stable goes, this is still a placeholder. I still don't have my legendary mount yet. I've been harping about that for ages, but my legendary mount will go up here, which will go with my Cavalry's Warning. Whenever you use a mount combat power, you receive a buff to basically every stat. We are going to use 1 Protector's Friendship, which is going to be power and defense, and 2 Protector's Camaraderies, which is also power and defense, which all stack and all intertwine. There are some new insignia bonuses out there that I'm looking at, but nothing really catches my eye right off the bat. So that's going to wrap it up, guys. Like I said, I will have a written guide that will be in the description. The spell rotation will be listed in the description. I just want to throw a shout out there for the community of Warlocks that have come together and discussed the many options available. Fernu, Dagasa, Nensu, Lucid, Obsidian, and all my other Warlock friends that have chimed in and have been discussing, viable builds and how to go along with the new mod. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys will enjoy Hellbringer Fury. We haven't had a viable Hellbringer class since like mod 6, I believe. Hellbringer is pretty fun. Like I said, it's a different play style. It's gonna be up to you personally on how you want to play. If you want to play Damnation, you can check out my Damnation build. If you want to use Hellbringer, then use this build. As always, if you have any questions, be sure to leave me a comment below. I will try to assist you in any way I can. Alright guys, we'll see you around.